Marcelo, for inviting me. Yes, I'm from the different generation, but I'm married and we have 2 children, and our son just turned 18. And what you can see is the questions we are discussing here and also try to get the answers. This is what I'm feeling every day at the moment, talking to our son. So because he just graduated and has to go to exactly the same step. What do I want to do? Where I want to do these things? How do I get information about that? And I try to help as much as I can do, not as you call it, wisdom, but just as parents' guidance. So give you the past, you said, yes, I studied food technology and made my master there in Berlin. What you can see at that time, food technology was one of the newest areas people would look at, and the same as biotechnology was also completely new at that stage and developed further. Then I am not in the same personality as Krishna, who just was an entrepreneur with many ideas, many things. I'm more a solid German and discover something and go in that direction. So I started in going into food retail, and personally, I like it very much because what you see today is that running organizations for entrepreneurs. Okay, so there is a situation that companies which are being founded from people like Mr. Krishna, that they are growing. But then these families are running out of brothers, sisters, or whomever to run these organizations, because either they have many organizations, or the second part is they don't fit into that. And in that moment, I found the sweet spot for my personal development. I'm a person who is being trusted from entrepreneurs, founders, and owners, and using their money and establishing their business and growing it. Now, just to give you an idea, I was the last 6 years in Azerbaijan. And the first time I came to that country, I was asked from the first family of the country to set up a supermarket chain. Now, this investment is roughly $300 million. So if someone gives you that amount of money and has an idea and creating it, you feel the responsibility of doing these correct. And you're doing that for the long term. So that means there are opportunities, not only in the entrepreneurship area in creating something, is also creating it for someone else and being in that environment. If you look my profile, you also have seen that I work for the German organization Metro and what is related to the Dutch organization SHV. Now, in these organizations, they are also growing with 100,000 people going forward. And you need some different skills of moving into this type of organizations. So if your head office is 900 people, and if your organization is 15,000 people, you need a different type of mentality and a different type of organization structure and leadership skills. And that is what I found my sweet spot in, because that is what I like. So what I can tell you is, if you know how to do it, you always will have a job. And if you know why to do it, you will always be the boss. So you have to find out, you want to fix it or grow it, doing it. And the other thing is why you are doing this job, why you're doing and working in that area. It's a different way of thinking. And people who are starting in retail or coming out from the universities, they always think marketing. Everything what is fancy, creative, is the idea of doing things. Okay. And then they come into the companies and then they are facing the reality. And the reality is different. And then there are businesses. There are businesses, if you go to the automobile industry or you are going to fast mover consuming good companies like Procter & Gamble, marketing people are the people who having a higher standard. If you go to retail, marketing is on a lower level. They are necessary, and for sure they're part of the success, but they are not being that recognized as people are coming from operations or from procurement. So then I would like to come to the next state. What is the future? I hear a lot about these discussions. What is the next technology advancement? Okay. But don't forget, we are in the human-to-human business. Okay. So in food retail, everybody is now talking about stores without checkouts. Amazon Go, Amazon Fresh, Hema from Alibaba. Everybody wants the next gadget of technology. The key thing is, we are all humans. And if you add to the situation, you can make it very simple. If you buy the value of coffee to make 1 cup of coffee, if you buy it in a normal way, so that means big bulk, then a coffee cup costs you 5 cents. And then you make a brand out of that whole thing and say, that is my coffee, and you are selling it, then you pay 50 cents. But if you go to a neighborhood coffee shop, you pay $1.50. Okay, $1.50. And if you go to Starbucks, you pay $6. So why the hell people are going to Starbucks or they are going to the coffee shop and paying instead of 5 cents per coffee, $1.50 or $5 to $6? Because it's the human interaction. It is about how we are working together with. And this is what I think is missing going forward. People are so determined of the technology side that they are forgetting the other part. And that is why people I have seen documentaries that they are saying we have cities or part of cities where 80% are single households. They are not living and talking to each other anymore. Young people there are cartoons where you are saying people is sitting on the computer, is getting an information to find a girlfriend. Then they discuss one day to meet in person. They don't know how to talk to each other. So what they put up is they put the laptops up on the plate and then they are chatting again, because this is how they communicate. So what I'm saying is we have to organize ourselves. Future is going forward. Internet is going forward. Technology is driving it from the steam engines up to now. But we also have to integrate the human-to-human connection, because this is where success is coming from. So if you're an entrepreneur and your business is growing, you need someone you trust, talk to, and make your business bigger. If you want to be successful in other business, it is always human to human, and it is almost network between people, and it is always trust. Now, how people find now the job they would like to do, I only give you one advice. Try during your study times, make volunteer jobs, make internships, because what you think about, what is in your imagination, what the store should look like or the company looks like, in reality is completely different, and you will be surprised, right? Because what is people want to go? If you go to the one of the 4 big accounting companies, Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers, whomever, what do you think is your job there? So you have no idea. You only have the idea that that is great. Or people want to come to Google because it's Google. Or they want to go to Facebook because it's Facebook. But your reality will be different. So you have to go in there in the time you are studying or before to see something, how the reality is. Try to get that time, make that time, paid or non-paid, that doesn't matter. Okay, so this is, I catch up a little bit of time from Mr. Krishna. Technology will go forward. We have to integrate it in all organizations. Don't forget the human to human. And in the human and human, create trust so that people work together with you. And then you are getting it. Be an open communicator and never, never lie, right? Because that comes out anytime. So you need a coach, you need a mentor. And this is my next step. If you're talking about my personal future, I have done that now many years, running organizations. And now I have decided together with my wife that we will go to Dubai. A week ago, we got the confirmation that our consultancy company is officially established. And so the next step, we will go to Dubai and helping organizations to grow. And we are also willing to make coaching and mentorship so that we can help them in the life cycle from, say, initiating the idea up to the startup business, then the growing part, the matured area. And many companies who are starting there, they are underestimating how you come from mature to the next growth level. So there you need support. So Marcello, thank you very much for inviting me. And I hope we have a few young people watching this video so that we can go next step forward.
Thanks, Holger. I mean, it's okay for us to continue the conversation a bit longer if you have the time. It's always good to tap into your wisdom. We would like to ask you something completely different, which is how do you make a decision to change cultures and countries, and what are the elements that you take into consideration, right? So going from Germany to Greece, you know, you still have the European context and actually the same currency at this point in time, but going to a new country like UAE and reestablishing yourself in Dubai, it's a bigger jump. And I think that many young people, when they get going with their studies, they'll start thinking, hey, maybe I should leave Belgium and go to Australia or do something in Chile. So what are the elements that I have to take into consideration? What are the risks involved when you make that jump and you don't really know what's waiting for you on the other side?
Okay, so first of all, I have met many people in organizations and they were asked, are you willing to go abroad? And the answer they always put into these forms, they made it tick and say, yes, I'm willing to go abroad. And then one day someone comes up and say, look, here's an opportunity, tomorrow you can go abroad. And then they come with excuses. My grandmother has a problem, or I have a new girlfriend, or whatever. And then they don't do that. So that's the first thing. You have to be honest to yourself if you really want to do that. And going abroad is something different than making holidays abroad. Okay? Because you have to make all these bureaucracy if you go abroad in other countries, because then you have to say, I'm a foreigner, I have to be accepted as a foreigner, I have to go to bureaucracy areas, you need a working permit, you need a residence permit, you need extra visas, you have to make tax residence certificates. So it is something new what people enjoy. Then the second group of people is they are jumping, but they are not really convinced themselves. So they say, okay, maybe it's good with this company, I go abroad. And then after 6 months, they give up. Because then they see all these things I just mentioned, to say, look, the world is completely different than home, and I'm not in my comfort zone. And so they want to go back after 6 months. So, and then there's a third group of people who really have the inspiration to see going abroad is enhancing their life. And that what happened as I was a younger person. I was going to the Netherlands, and from the Netherlands, they sent me around the world in that organization. And I was at that time in South America, I was in Eastern Europe, I was in Asia. And there it comes the inspiration that I said, I like that. I like that the world is teaching me and is enhancing my personal life. And if you have that mindset, that you go to different cultures. Look, I live now in countries where 95% is Muslim. And it was an amazing experience. It was new for me as Christian, but it was an amazing experience. And from the human to human side, it was tremendously successful. We still have a lot of contacts, my wife and myself, from all the countries where we are. Okay. So you have a nice experience and you can judge the world better so that you can see what politicians are saying is not always true for sure in that respect. So that is where I like it. So what are the criteria? Now, if you are not married, no children, you have different criteria as you have if you are married and you have children who have to go to school. So then you go to different decision-making processes. So clearly that is where it looks like. So I always had the first decision is because I was married and we had children. So for us, was the first thing is everything okay for the family? And then the second part came, what is the job assigned? So that is where it looks like. But the key thing is, as I said, you have to have the personal willingness to see that the country is giving you something. It is different and will enjoy you. So and that is why the first time I went then from Greece with my wife to Indonesia. We lived there 4.5 years. Then we lived in Kuwait 4.5 years. We went for 1.5 years. We went to Russia. So we really enjoyed it, and we have people knowing for that.
Yeah, it's interesting when you're thinking about how you learn to swim, right? You can read books about swimming pools and have a degree in chemistry and understand everything about how water is structured, but you really need to get into the water, right? And you want to do that in a kind of a safer environment, the paddling pool where it's not so deep, so that your body has time to habituate. You may need to have some props, like those inflatable buoys that you have for the toddlers so that they can feel safer and they can have fun, right? It's really important that fun is part of the process, but you have to get into the water. So what are your thoughts in terms of doing internships abroad and kind of volunteering in certain countries so that you can get used to different conditions? For instance, like someone from Germany going to a Muslim country and going like, oh, I'm not supposed to show the bottom of my shoe to anyone because it's really offensive. How would I have guessed, right?
Yeah.
These are the things that you have to be in the water to know.
Now you're asking me who did this, right? So the question is clearly go into companies who are willing to send you abroad or stay a little bit longer in holidays and ask people the right thing. Look, it's the first time as I came to Greece, right? Then I went with my wife to Crete. So, and there were big hotels, and there are families from all over the world going into these hotels. And what happens is they stay the whole time in the hotel. They are not going out of the hotel because they are more afraid of what is going on outside the hotel. So you really have to, as you said, go swimming. You really have to go out, and then you see, wow, there are nice people all around you and helping you. So that is what it is. So go out and enjoy it. The key thing is not everyone has the mentality for doing these things abroad because it is maybe scary, maybe it's different, right? So, and that is why I said there are these 3 types of people, mentalities I mentioned so far. So you have to be really, really honest to yourself If you don't like, my daughter, for example, she lives in Berlin. She likes Berlin, and she is living her whole life there. So she is coming visiting us, but her life is Berlin. So, and that's it. And so they feel very comfortable with that. So you have to be honest to yourself to find out what is good for you. And if you see the world is excited, then try all opportunities you get to go and see countries.
Oh, thanks, Holger. Just one last question, if you have a few minutes. If you'd like to tell us, right? Because you have children who are still in the teenage period, and 18 technically is still teen until they turn 20. They're technically teenagers. But what were the options that your children were considering, and which options they decided to pursue, and the ones that are like, nah, this is not something that I want to invest time and effort doing? And of course, as a private, no, you can share whatever you're willing to share, but it's just like to understand the methodology, right? So the long list of options, the short list of options, and the ones that I actually went for.
Okay, no, look, Pablo, for example, is taking, we discussed this situation for almost 1 year now. And as you can imagine, there are a long list of things what we can do. Now, what we did with Pablo is, as we lived together in Azerbaijan, I asked him to come into the company and have a look at it. And then during that period, he looked into the different departments. So he could see what a marketing department is doing. He could see what an operations department is doing. So for this point of view, he had a very good idea after that visit, what is good for him and what he didn't like. So, and the key thing then is that he decided he wants to go into business because he saw that that is exciting, because he lived also in all these countries with us, right? So he knows now the differences, and he has friends on all over the world. Now, sure, he likes gaming. Gaming is for sure something what is growing, and e-gaming is something what nice. So he was also considering something on the gaming side. So, but then it gets in this direction. It was more difficult to discuss what are the right universities, because he had opportunities to go to France. He had the opportunity to, there were 2 in France, and there was 1 in Sweden. There was 2 in the Netherlands, and there are 2 in Greece. So now to decide what is the right place going to the future and making that decision by himself, I think that was the more critical point.
Yeah, and it's definitely a very good point, that it needs to feel it, right? It's the same thing of getting into the water when you're allowing them to come and participate in the company. No, hopefully they're adding value, because of course they have the sweat equity to get certain tasks done, even if they haven't been trained or have no certifications. But it makes them learn enough to make better decisions, right? Even if
So
they're not.
look, also being part of that discussion, just during that 1 year, people are visiting us at home. And then we were talking, what are you doing? What are your children are doing? So that the children are, because they are not children anymore in that age, right? So they are in the development phase of being adults. And for that reason, it is good to participate this discussion and then let them think about it. And then they talk to their own friends and schoolmates, and then they are talking also to teachers. So to get the first step, because it's the first step. So the first step is quite significant for going forward. So, and what I'm saying is, look, the world is not finishing. So, okay, so he has now the college degree, that's fine. I mean, the high school degree. So now he is going to college. So, but then the world is not finished. Then you have just another, say, document in your hand, what shows that you are being educated. But then the real life is starting, because after that, the real life is first starting. And what I can tell you is you have to create a network. You have to create a network of people. So that is where, because these jobs you're looking for and these kind of assignments, they are not coming up in the newspaper or whatever. So on the hiring board. So it comes all through network. So that is what you have to create.
Oh, that's for sure. And this is also one of the things we're trying to do here. One of our ideas to help the teenagers find internships that they can do online, so that they can have the
Yeah,
kind of
I think
experience.
that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea. At least then they get a visual idea how that whole thing looks like, right? So pictures are and videos are more informative. You cannot send 500 CV applications around and then hope that you get something, right? That will not work.
Yeah. Oh, this is really great, Holger. Thank you so much for the fresh perspective and insights. I
Go
have
into the supermarket. That's what I wanted to teach everyone,
yeah.
right? Just go into it and make it better, because that is a big human interaction at the moment. Not everything you will get online anymore in the future, for sure. What is going on in the future is that that these organizations I'm discussing with, they are creating spaces where you interact with yourself, and then you also, because what do you eat tomorrow, Marcello?
Well,
What do you eat tomorrow for lunchtime? If you don't go in a restaurant, I mean, if you do it at home, what do you eat?
well, I am big into fasting, so my answer is nothing until quite late.
Okay, good exception, but that's fine. What I'm saying is one of the biggest problems families have is to decide, what do I eat tomorrow?
Yes.
And where do I get my inspiration, what I want to eat? Okay, or just a meat, fish, or vegetarian, blah, blah. And then what, right? And the day after again. So you need the space where you get the inspirations, and you have to find places how to do it. Yes, you can do it online, but if you have a chef in front of you showing it to you, hey, here's a much more fun. And if you do that with friends, it's even better.
Yeah.
And then I can give you a live example. As I was in Kuwait, we were establishing a high-end supermarket with a restaurant. And we got from the US knives and forks and all the utilities you need for to make an excellent menu, right? And these products were not selling at all, zero. And why? Because in the US, it was excellent, because it was the supermarket was on the Wall Street, and people are gathering on the weekend and were making the food together. And then they said, oh, look, I have a very nice knife, $150. In Kuwait, you have an Indian cook, and you are not giving your Indian cook something for $150.
Very good point.
Right? So nobody was buying it. So that's what it is, right? And the other stories is like Walmart went the first time to Mexico. They had all the electrical appliances were not selling. Why? Because a poor buyer who organized that didn't understand that there is a different plug. All the plugs they had were not working for the appliances they had. So there are a lot of things you have to figure out much better as it is. Okay. So it's fun being abroad. It is fun seeing your life enhanced with this situation. And that's it. Thank you for having me, Marcelo. And
Thanks
now
so
the
much.
next
Right.
one is coming.
Wishing you all the best with your future adventures. Sounds like you're very good at finding them.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. That's what it is. But also, I don't have the financial pressure anymore. That's also the difference, right? Because if someone is jumping out of the window and say, this is my future, and you don't have a parachute with you, I have a parachute in the meantime, right? So.
Well, you have to make one, right? So people should start thinking about making their parachutes as well, so they can jump from higher places.
Exactly. So thank you very much for having me.